Now we will start with input to output function. We studied the production function briefly before this. Now we will study input to output function in detail, that is converting the inputs into outputs. We know that every firm uses inputs and in order to produce the output. Inputs used in the production function include the factors like labor, the factors like machinery, and of course the factors like land. These are basically utilized in order to produce the level of output. Therefore, by utilizing these three factors generally, what happens is that a producer produces the output. From the available resources, a firm produces a maximum quantity of goods called the production possibility frontier. Again, we studied this also previously, that when the firm utilizes its complete capacity, it produces the output on this particular line, which is known as production possibility frontier. This production possibility frontier shows that the maximum a good can produce is on this line, and any amount of good produced within this line will show inefficient level of production, and of course any output produced at this in this region will show that the firm cannot produce output higher than the or above than this line. The PPF shows different combination of inputs to outputs. That is, the combination can be this point, combination can be this point, combination can be this point, combination can be at this point or any other point. Combinations of the production function change with different inputs. The time factor, the time dimension of specific inputs used in the output is also included in the production function. Now, we will use the another factor also, that is known as time factor, denoted by small t or capital T sometimes. This is also now included in the production function. The production possibility frontier differs in terms of the nature of output. This frontier differs in terms of the nature of the output. Some commodities, they require different proportions of capital and labor. That is, some commodities, suppose this is capital and suppose this is labor. On y-axis we have labor, y-axis we have capital. There are some commodities which are capital intensive, then the amount of capital used in the production of those goods will be higher than the amount of capital used in the labor intensive goods. So therefore, the production possibility frontier differs in terms of the nature of output. Some commodities require different proportions of capital and labor, while some production functions have same proportion of labor and capital. So for labor intensive, the firm's utilization of labor will be greater. For capital intensive, the capital will be great. Utilization of capital will be greater. There may be some goods. In fact, there are some goods in which the utilization of capital and labor is more or less the same. Now, some production functions require the maximum labor, whereas the production functions and others require the more of capital. It is the firm which decides whether to replace the labor with capital. Most of the time, such replacements of the factors of production depend on the factor rewards and endowments. Now, the replacement of capital with labor or labor with capital, it basically depends on the factor rewards or endowments. We have studied this concept of endowment. Endowment is when an individual or a firm is already having a given a good for a consumer or any input for the firm. Therefore, it is the endowments or the rewards which will decide or which will help in the replacement of one input for the other input. In a labor abundant region, the more labor intensive goods are produced, as I told you over here, whereas in capital abundant region, more capital intensive goods are produced. But in any production function, capital and labor intensive techniques are used. Now we will move towards the technology. What is technology? By technology is an important component of production function in today's world, because the better the technology, the better the output of goods and services produced in economy in terms of quality and standard. Now, when studying with reference to technology, we assume that there is only one firm. There is only one firm. What is that firm doing? It is producing the goods by utilizing the inputs in order to produce the output. Such a firm produces n goods from available inputs. The number of goods it is producing is the n number of goods. There is only one firm, okay, and the number of goods it is producing is the n number of goods from available inputs. Now the production of goods usually requires some amount of labor and capital. What happens is that the production of goods, it requires some amount of labor and capital both. Okay, what is that some amount of labor and capital both for the firm? We will move towards that and we will study it in detail. Okay. So the production plan is prepared by each firm and it consists of the use of inputs in the production output. Now what is a production plan? How much of the good is to be produced? A firm uses Yji units of input and it produces Yj output during a particular time period. That is, it is using Yji units of inputs. Total units of inputs are Yji. And what is it producing with the help of these inputs? It is producing Yj units of output during a particular time period. Now we have another factor also included over here, and that factor is the time period. The net output of good j is now given as, that is, Yj is equal to y of 0 minus y of I. Now we have to understand these terms. Yj is equal to y of 0 minus y of I. Now this is the value of net output. Net output. We have studied the concept of net output in detail in the previous lecture, which you can find in the YouTube videos. So net output is equal to y naught minus y of I. What is the output function? Output function is showing that Yj of I units of inputs are used to produce the Yj of the output at a particular time period. Now if j is positive, now if this j is some positive number, what happens is that the firm produces more of good j than it uses the inputs. If the value of j is positive, then the firm will produce more of goods. Over here, if we move towards this function, if the value of j is positive, then the value of yj is also positive. Then it means that the firm is producing more output as compared to the inputs. If value of y of j is negative, then if the jth good serves as a net input and positive, if the jth good serves, then the production possibility set is the technologically feasible production plan denoted by Y, and which is the subset of Rn. For this statement, I will repeat back this statement. If J is positive, the firm is producing the output that is more than the utilization of inputs. Now the production plan of any firm is a vector Y, okay, in Rn. This is the production plan, which is showing vector Y in Rn. Now what is, if Yj is negative? If the value of Yj is negative, okay, value of Yj is negative if the jth good, the good that is j, okay, if the jth good serves as the net input, and positive if jth good serves as the net output. Now, are you getting my point? if we have a production plan where y is the output in the Rn. Now yj is negative if the jth good serves as the net input, and yj is positive if jth good serves as a net output. Now the production possibility set is the technologically feasible production plan denoted by y, which is a subset of Rn. This production possibility set is the subset of Rn. The y set is the production plan where all the inputs and output patterns are described. Now in this production possibility set, all the patterns of inputs and outputs are described. Every firm has two types of production functions. The first one is the conventional production function. Okay, now we are moving towards the production functions. Now every firm has two production functions. The first one is conventional production function. Now what is conventional production function? Conventional production function means that it is using the simple or traditional factors of production in order to produce the goods and services. And the second production function is the innovative production function. That is, now here comes the difference between the conventional production function and the innovative production function. Now what is an innovative production function? Innovative production function uses the new technologies and professional skilled manpower. Such technologically innovative production function changes in the short term. Now the innovative production functions, they change in short term. There is no fixed market for such goods which can be trendy or fashionable products. In the globalization era, due to competition, a firm uses the innovative production function to sustain a market share. Therefore, this is the simple method of production function. This is the one which utilizes the technology, and therefore it can change in the short run as well. This innovative production function can change in the short run as well. Therefore, there is no fixed market for such goods which can be trendy or fashionable products. Now, in the short run, all the factors of production are fixed. We know this is a simple microeconomic concept. Now, the technology set is fixed. Therefore, only the conventional production set is possible. A firm cannot make the decision to use more capital and hire more skilled manpower. When we move on towards the short run, we say that the technology is fixed. That is, T is fixed. Okay. Therefore, only conventional production function in that case is possible. A firm cannot make a decision to use more capital and hire more skilled manpower, because if technology is fixed, then the capital will be of the same amount that is used in the production function. A firm cannot use more of the capital or more of the skilled manpower. Okay, its utilization cannot be increased. But in the long run, such factors are variable in nature. Therefore, a firm's technological possibility set may change in the long run. A firm makes decisions about the different factors of production and becomes more competitive in the market in the long run. Therefore, a firm plans a dominant strategy in the long run. What happens in the long run? A firm plans a dominant strategy to increase the firm's market share. In the short run, the production function is denoted by y of z, which consists of all the feasible regions. In this production function, I'm drawing it again and again because it is this production possibility frontier which we are studying. It contains all the feasible net output bundles consistent with the constraint level Z. Okay, if this is constraint level, it contains all the feasible net output bundles. In the short run, supposing that the factors are fixed, then an equation can be written as. Now, when all the factors are fixed, then the equation will be written as y of n is equal to, now this is important from here, that is y in y. okay, and yn is equal to yn. Why? Because we are dealing with the short-run production function. Now yz, what is yz? Yz is the subset of y, okay, which contains all the production plans which are feasible. Okay, we will stop over here, and for the next topic we will move to our next recording. Over here what we have studied is we have studied the inputs to output. We have started the inputs to output function, where the output is produced with the help of different levels of inputs, and the output can be produced with the help of labor intensive technologies or capital intensive technologies. With time period T also incorporated into the function. Then we have technology specification. By technology specification, we mean that technology is also now utilized in the production function and no conventional level of output is produced, rather innovative level of output is produced. Then we studied the output function where we had yj is equal to y0 minus yi. Then technology was specified on the basis of the two production functions and on the basis of short-run and long-run concepts. In short run, capital and skilled manpower cannot be increased, whereas in the long run it can be increased. Now this is the function of short run. This function is showing that yn is equal to y in y. What is y of z? Y of z is the subset of y, okay, and it consists all the production plans which are feasible, which either lies on this line or within this line. Thank you very much.